truth and all of that, and bringing it at express speed. You like that play on words? Yeah, express, man. Express.
Good evening to everyone out there. This is Mark Hamilton and you're listening to the Express Truth once again. Now we've got a nice little show in store for you guys today. I brought in one of my close friends and one of the most known rappers in Birmingham. Goes by the name of FONZi. And we're just gonna have a little debate and, you know, get to the bottom of a few issues that we talk about on a regular basis and things that I think everyone needs to be addressing, whether in the UK, whether in the States. And that is the issue of culture vultures. What is a culture vulture? It's things that have happened, you know. So let me just introduce FONZi into the fold. FONZi.
Yes, what you're saying, Mark. Let me just make a quick adjustment and say, you know, this isn't a cheap plug, but I'm about to drop the Adventures of FONZi NeuTRON. Just as a quick changeover. That's gonna actually be my official changeover point from going from the name FONZi to FONZi NeuTRON, which is the elevation of where I'm coming from on my journey and stuff. We'll get more into that as we go on, but just in terms of the Adventures of FONZi NeuTRON, that's my journey through life, what I've been through, what I've experienced, some of the struggles that I faced, all of that. So when you talk about culture vultures and we talk about just identity and culture and struggle and history and all of that stuff, everything's all tied in. So you know, I'm happy to be here on the Express Truth and you know, looking forward to spitting some truth torpedoes if they can handle it.
Yeah, man, exactly. So at the end of the day, can you tell me what a culture vulture is, please? Can you explain to the listeners exactly what a culture vulture is before we get into this debate?
Okay, I'd say you know, my understanding of a culture vulture, first I'd look at the word culture and just define what culture is and what that means and what that represents. So in terms of culture, which is something that is set to a particular group of people, you know, whether that's from their heritage, whether that's from their history, you know, something that's naturally aligned to a group of people. And then we take a vulture. Now, even if we was to just take the animal of vulture, it's something that comes in and preys on the carcass. You know, you're out in the deserts and you're dead, a vulture's gonna come in and pick at your bones. So, you know, a culture vulture, I look at them as really low, like that's gonna come in and try and pick at the bones of a culture who, oftentimes it's a culture who are struggling to maintain their own power. So a vulture's gonna come in and really try and claw and grab whatever they can get and, you know, fly off into the sunset with it for their own sick agenda. Like, you know, that's my understanding of it. There's so many different layers to it, but you know, culture vultures.
Alright, so you hear that, so you've had a little explanation as to what a culture vulture is. Now, we're just gonna get straight into it, man. You know, you ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing, man. If you wanna hear something sugarcoat, this ain't the place.
Yeah, this ain't the platform for that.
So I'm gonna say my piece and then Fun, you know, we're just gonna go back and forth, man. So FONZi, anytime you're ready to jump in.
Yeah.
To me, I think there's a white privilege when it comes to what belongs to us. And someone said something to me that hit home the other day, and they said, everybody loves black culture.
Oh yeah.
But not everyone loves black people. You see what I'm saying? So when I've really looked at that and I've really said to myself, yo, that's a deep statement, you know.
Yeah.
When I've checked it out, it's true. When you look at everything that goes on, this white privilege takes over everything that we're doing. Now, a couple of years ago, you had the incident with Chris Brown. This is just a little thing that I'm gonna say before we start. And Chris Brown, he basically lashed out at Rihanna, whatever happened. He was barred from all the shows. He wasn't basically given no support. Not to say he's meant to, but no one looked at the fact that this was a young man, all the rest of it. Recently you've had Justin Bieber, who's been acting all crazy or wild and all kind of stuff, and everyone's come to his defense. Now to me it's like, yo, you see what I'm saying? What's the difference? Well, what is the difference?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, you made quite an apt point, man, and if you know, taking, you know, first off, I'm gonna say first things first, because I've got a lot of supporters, friends and family who are white, and they understand the realness of just realness. Like, you know, realness has no colour of white, black or whatever. Like, if you're real, you're real, and there's a lot of real people out there from different nationalities and stuff, because at the end of the day, you know, we're all beings of the same substance. So I'm going to say that because, you know, on this, we're talking candidly. We're not going to be holding any punches. And I know how easily people can become offended in such a PC, you know, time. So if it's cool for me to say black folk, it's got to be cool for me to say white folk. You know, just in terms of the context of the conversation, I don't want nobody getting offended and their jaws dropping saying, oh, he said white folk, you know, he's got to be racist or anything like that, because, you know, that's a whole different issue about blacks being racist. We'll go to white privilege, which was quite an apt point that you made, because society does indeed function under white privilege. Even when I mentioned racism, you know, I remember sitting in university and a white lecturer telling the students that no other nationality has the power to be racist but whites, and a lot of the white students were like, oh, they couldn't believe it, you know what I mean? Yeah. They couldn't believe it, because they were saying, oh wait, we've been to this country before and people have said this word which means white in their language, and you know, they was kind of coming up with examples of where they feel people have been prejudiced against them. But he had to break it down to them and say, well, you know, racism is a tool that functions under prejudice plus power, and you have to be in the power to effectively change somebody's life. Like, black people don't have that power. So this is a really great point that I do want to get into, so just hold that forward and talk about black people not having power, because that's very significant when we deal at culture vultures, and very significant in terms of the point that you made about people loving black culture but not loving black people. Yeah. So if we look at racism and we say, okay, you know, white privilege, what society functions under. I mean, myself, I went to a grammar school, and I remember how a lot of the white teachers, how they used to treat me. And I wasn't, you know, to them, I may as well have been like a terrorist. If I said something just in defense of the ill treatment that I was getting, it was like, oh, you know, lock him up, he's a bad guy. Then there used to be white kids who was in the same classroom, and they used to wild out and they used to do all sorts of stuff that was absolutely crazy, but they used to get treated better because there's that white privilege even within the educational system and so many different systems within life. So if, you know, to kind of touch back on the point of people loving black culture, people do love black culture, but you know, it is to be said that a lot of them don't love black people because they have a fear of black people having power. So when we talk about, you know, just the culture vultures coming in, not wanting blacks to have any power or even maintain any power or build any power, I want to kind of explore and even get behind why is that fear there. Because if we was to look at the history of the world, you know, where's there been mass cases of blacks trying to take over the world, you know, bombing other nations for oil, you know, pilfering and plundering and pillaging and, you know, all of that stuff, different nations. Where's the history of blacks doing that? You ain't gonna see that. So I don't get what this whole fear of black people having any power for. Like when blacks have been in power and have got power, 9 times out of 10 what you see is them trying to do something good with it, do something productive with it, you know what I mean? Now I'm not putting down any other nations and stuff, but you know, history isn't false, facts isn't false. So we see so many people who, I've got a little theory that I theorize sometimes, and a lot of us growing up here in the UK, we've got, you know, a lot of the Pakistani community, you know, a lot of the Asians and stuff like, I mean, for the American listeners, what they would class Asians as more so Orientals, but we're talking like, you know, the Pakistanis and the Indians and stuff like that. A lot of them who have grown up within our communities here in the UK, they jock our culture, like to the fullest. And you know, my theory is, especially a lot of them growing up in their households that may have been strict religious wise, Islamic, how to see us growing up from young, they see us in a point of having freedom to, you know, walk the streets and look a certain way and act a certain way. So people kind of form like I don't say a idolization, but you know, they kind of want that and they build that. But the thing is, a lot of them subconsciously they do that, but then they don't want to give any power to the blacks, you know what I mean? Like they want to dress like us, they want to act like us, they want to talk like us, so on and so forth.
Sell black products.
All of that, but then a lot of them, you would actually see a fear in them of you trying to better yourself. Like there's some, you know, there's a lot of Asians around my neighborhood who I've got great relationships with and support me to the fullest, and I support them and I'm appreciative of them. But then there's others who I see the way that they look at me just knowing that I'm doing something with my life. Like there's a guy in one of the local shops that you know, I go in there and I'll say, okay, well, we've got this new project dropping and we've got X, Y, Z. The guy looks at me like he's shocked that I can actually be doing something, like the fear that he has to actually see a black man doing something and being powerful in his presence and stuff. Yeah. A lot of people don't like that. And these are the things that I want to know. Where does this fear come from? I think people need to ask themselves these questions, because a lot of people will say, oh, you know, they're not racist, or, you know, they're all for equality and stuff, but where is that equality when it comes to the black community? Like, a lot of people, you know, I'm in the hip hop and the music business.
Which we are going to play and get into.
Yeah.
We just
oh yeah, you don't worry, stop me for over talk, but
yeah, keep going, man, keep going.
Being in this business, you know, you've got so many others who love to be a part of this business, but ask me, what did they do, or what interest did they have in the black community? Like, a lot of people want to be in the entertainment side because, you know, they want to hang around, you know, those cool looking blacks who can sing and who can dance and who can move and who can entertain and all that sort of stuff. But what do they care about the community? What do they care about the social deprivation? What do they care about, you know, the kids growing up without no fathers and stuff? They don't. A lot of them don't care about these things. They just want to take, and those are the culture vultures. You know what I mean? At the same time, you've got some who, you know, are playing a part and do want to help and do want to build. But then there's a lot of people on this earth who don't, and you know, it's kind of sad to see.
Well, you know, we're living in the UK, and you know, one thing that we've been blessed with as black people is hip hop.
Oh yeah.
It's something that has been gifted to us by our peers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying, and I don't care what anyone wants to say. As far as I'm concerned, hip hop started as a black thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's now a global thing where you can look at a Nigerian, you can go Nigeria,
yeah,
and see an artist in Nigeria doing his thing with a following in Nigeria. Now in the UK, FONZi, in the UK, you've got the rap scene's grown over the last 5 years, yeah? But in the last, say, 15 to 20, none of us have ever took the forefront of where the power is now. This is something that we brought up in the live debate.
Mm-hmm.
Where the power is in hip-hop has always been with a non-black person. And a lot of people was waiting for it to come to the end of Westwood's reign, let's keep it like that.
Yeah.
And they found another non-black, let's put it like that, to step in and control the forefront of UK hip-hop now.
Oh yeah.
Why are we at a point where we can't own something that is ours? Why can't we own, like, that is like a, let me just be honest.
Yeah, keep
a white man controlling Chinese food, you're never going to see that.
No.
So how does it work that all the top artists who come here go through Westwood? Westwood makes or breaks UK artists. Yeah. Why are we at this point?
Well, you see, what you got to understand is it's a mindset that we're dealing with, and you know, me and you, we shoot the breeze and we talk about stuff like this quite often, and seldomly do I find, you know, blacks who even want to grow mentally. Now, you know, you gotta have, so, you know, I said something similar on the Uncle Tom DVD, that people can have their excuses and say, oh, well, it's Willie Lynch syndrome, it's effects of post-traumatic slave disorder, so on and so forth. Yeah. Even us growing up here in the UK, us going to school, like primary school, what can you say we was ever taught about black history? you know,
Nothing,
what was
nothing.
never taught about culture and knowledge of self, all these things which are very important. We wasn't taught any of that. So I can tell you a bit about myself. My era growing up, a lot of the influence that I was privy to came from America, and especially at a point between the late 80s, 90s, it was your KRS-Ones, it was your Public Enemies, it was your Tupacs, it was your Ice Cubes, you know, it was hip hop and it was rappers, and you know, there's so many more names I could mention that had so much knowledge, wisdom, you know, truth, culture, knowledge of self, all of that it was imparting onto us as listeners that then helped us grow. I mean, look at Master P. Master P, one of my biggest influences, and you know, the Colonel of No Limit, who set himself apart from pretty much every other rapper in the business at that time. Didn't take a deal where he was going to put a low value on himself. He actually realized, you know what, I'm worth a lot more. I can actually do more for myself. He was willing to do more for himself. Even me, myself, being independent, I'm willing to go out there and do more for myself. Whereas a lot of black people, they're still waiting on somebody else to give them that handout, or even waiting for that validation from somebody else to say, okay, well, it's okay for you to do that. Even if you was to probably go back to slave days and it was like, you know, when white folks say, okay, it's okay for you to do that, then they think, okay, well, it's okay, I can do it. A lot of people, they've still got a lot of traces of that mentality and that mindset where they don't think it's okay to go out and do stuff themselves. Now, if we're talking about hip-hop, even now within the UK, and you say, okay, you Westwood now, who they've now, you know, passed the torch on, so to speak, to this new guy, Charlie Sloth, who's I mean, just hearing his voice, it's like the sound of irritable bowel syndrome. Like it's corny. It's, you know, there's no culture. It's just mimicking.
Yeah.
It's exploitation of the slang and the vernacular in the streets. And not only just that, because a lot of these people are pushed into these positions and they haven't grew up with the same afflictions that, you know, black folk grew up with, which helped birth not even just hip hop, but soul, but the blues, but other forms of music, which was people coming from the struggle and oppression and really voicing that in a poetic manner. What we're seeing now is they are supporting the ignorance of a lot of these guys who, they just want to be rappers just for a bit of popularity. They want to be rappers just so people can look at them and say, oh, well, look at him, he's got this car, or he's got this chain, or he's wearing Louis Vuitton, or he's wearing Gucci, and all of these things. And it's like, they support that. But these guys in these positions who are, like you said, controlling hip-hop to a degree within the UK, they don't support real hip-hop. Like, I couldn't tune on to Westwood or Charlie Sloth show and hear the Outlaws, and hear somebody like Young Noble, who's going to be imparting a strong message to the youngsters of just building up their confidence, of not being out in the street selling drugs, of you know, mashing hard for your dreams. Like, instead, I'm gonna hear guys who are gonna be telling you, oh, well, I make this much money selling drugs. You know, I've got this much girls. I got this, and it's I think it's a very sad thing that people don't seem to have the backbone or the balls to even stand up and say, well, wait, if you're in that position, I want to know, A, okay, why are you in that position, but why are you doing, why are you in that position? Because we seem to be evading responsibility, which is what, you know, if you're in a position to do something, there's a level of responsibility that sits on you. So if you're saying you're in that position to be helping shape these people's minds and identity and stuff, what are you doing with that? What are your intentions with that? Now, I ain't saying that somebody can't be in a position, you know, I ain't saying that, you know, white folk or any Asians or anybody else can't have a place within hip-hop or can't have a place within business and stuff like that. But, you know, we need to be able to have things there in place where, or even people there in place that are going to be able to challenge these people and say, well, what are your intentions? What are you doing? Because a lot of these guys, they're profiteering, and they've been profiteering for so much years. But if we was to go to the ghetto and go to the outer cities, as Pac quite aptly put it, you will be seeing the same old cycle, you know, and if not, it's worse. It's getting worse year after year. You know, just the social decline and
one thing, fans, to jump in on we are not it's our thing. We own it. Hip hop's our thing. What it is, what I'm trying to explain to the people is that if I follow Kung Fu and I become someone who devotes my life to Kung Fu, and I may even become one of the top Kung Fu fighters of this era or whatever you want to call it, I would never be in a position to change any of the rules. I would never be in a position. I would always be treated as a guest in the house of Kung Fu. Whereas what happens with us is people come into our house and end up taking over.
Well, it's like I said, it's that mindset that people have, and they're still allowing people to colonize them and come in, and you know, it's just like there's people who have traveled the world and, you know, raped women and overthrown villages and, you know, done anything they want, take what they want, and, you know, some people have been passive and let them do it, and these things still exist now in different forms. So, you know, it's definitely a beautiful point that you made. You know, I'll go back to another Tupac quote because, you know, when we're talking about hip hop, we gotta be talking about Pac because he's definitely one of the realest to ever do it. And, you know, Pac said, us growing up in the outer cities, even though they would call it the inner city. Now I'm paraphrasing quite a bit, but you know, we're left out. That's why we're in the outer cities. You know, the actual inner cities, I've been to places in the inner cities where you see pretty much just white folk that live. They haven't got to worry about money. They ain't got to worry about, you know, walking down the streets and getting robbed. You don't see no homeless people on the streets. You don't see no liquor shops or nothing like that. So we're here in the outer city where we've been left out. We ain't got no trust funds. We ain't got, you know, no trips, no summer vacations and stuff that we've been taking on. You know, like Pac said, you know, most people, their summer holidays is, you know, going to your grandma's house, going to your uncle's house, you know, stuff like that.
Exactly.
To kind of get further to the point, the only thing we've got and we've ever had to leave behind is culture, which is been passed down from generations to generation. So our culture is very strong and our culture is very important, and it's something that's significant that we should be able to maintain it in a healthy way and pass that on. But what we've enabled now is people to come in and repackage that culture and then sell it back to these kids. Now, you know, I do a lot of work with young people, and I say to them, I can understand to a degree how they act or why they act how they act, or because that's based off what they see, what they accept as their reality, what they accept as their identity. But I'll keep showing them what you've got to understand is that's been repackaged and sold back to you now. This isn't how it's been passed down like it was passed down to us. You know, me, I give the youngsters the game the same way the game was given to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the knowledge that I was given, the culture that I hold on to, and a lot of people nowadays, they're really missing that. So we see such a big lapse, and it's all about, okay, well, I've got to play this role now, I've got to play this image, or this is my identity now, and all of that, it's been sold to them by somebody else who doesn't have their best interest at heart.
Yeah, well, it is a sad thing, man. We're going to get into it all, man. We're just warming up, but we want to play a tune from FONZi, man, so you can see exactly what type of vibe is on. What tune should I play?
You know what, I think just on the subject matter and some of the stuff that we spoke about, you know, today we've released the BDR Mafia project, Return of the Real. Touching on a lot of the stuff that we spoke about, one of the tracks is actually entitled Culture Vultures, where I publicly address, you know, Tim Westwood and his successor, Charlie Sloth, who are, you know, going from being the two biggest DJs out here, and just, you know, questioning the position that they're in. Because a lot of people say they're into hip-hop, but when it comes down to the elements of hip-hop, and when it comes down to the people and being there for the people, I look around and I don't see them there. So this track's called Culture Vultures. You know, you can play the skit first, which is it's
and we're going to play it in its entirety, so I want people to listen to this properly, because we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about Birmingham, we're going to be talking about UK on a whole, we're going to be talking about media. I'm going to be really picking your brain, man, so I want everyone to listen to this skit.
Yeah, man, let's get it. This is a satirical skit, so you know, it's based on Tim Westwood, Charlie Sloth, and their upper echelon, and then we'll get into the record Culture Vultures, man.
Alright, so here we go. We're gonna play the skip and then the song, so take it in. Yeah. So you can hear, man, it ain't no game, man.
Yeah.
It ain't no game, man. You can hear that. You know what I'm saying? Everything's being addressed in that tune. I can feel that.
Ah, yeah, man.
You see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, these are facts that are being spoken, and if no one's going to speak about it, then we must speak about it, because, which brings me to my next point. I've always been a man who's behind the camera. I don't know if you remember my first project, UK Movement.
Ah, yeah. Definitely, man.
In them days, there was nobody filming nothing.
Yeah.
In Birmingham. If I'm lying, they can challenge me over the waves. No one was filming nothing. I was 16, wasn't driving, running around with a 2-3 grand camera. Them days there was no Facebook, no YouTube. I was filming everybody. So I was filming people from both sides of the fence, if you get what I'm saying. And in them days, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that, but now...
Unprecedented, but yeah.
We put the work in to get the scene to where it needed to be. And when I've kind of looked, I've kind of left the music scene alone, and I've gone more into the documentaries and movie side. But when I look back at what I kind of opened the gate for a lot of these young guys, I'm not seeing no one from my own community who's took up the mantelpiece. I'm looking around, and our youth are being treated unfairly by a lot of the guys who have took over the industry that you guys are supposed to own.
Oh yeah.
Others have taken it over and are now treating you guys badly, not answering their phone, and dealing with guys on a real sloppy level. These people ain't businessmen.
Nah.
These people are just men who are trying to think, and we're giving away every part of our culture.
Yeah, it's definitely enabling them to just come in and seize and capture. Like one of the lyrics that I said on that track is you've got some people who seize and capture everywhere that they go, and some people may say it's in their nature to do it. So even out here, a lot of the work that I know yourself to have put in, and you've got these others now who are in a position of power within the scene. I mean, they ain't in no position of power to me because I don't give up no power, you know what I mean? But to those who do and give away that power so easily, I say to a lot of the youngsters that I work with all the time, and they come to me and say, "FONZi, these guys, for instance, these P110s, and these are dudes who ain't from the community, but they work within the community." So it's like I said, people who ain't from the community that are going to work within the community, they have a role of responsibility of people need to be knowing their aims, their objectives, their agenda. Like even if we're just talking straight business, and those are things that come up anyway. What are your aims? What are your objectives? What's your agenda? But nobody's asking these people these questions because people are, especially you gotta understand this mentality of a lot of blacks nowadays. It's all about the hype. And especially like you said, we were doing stuff at a time before this whole social media craze.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about, oh, I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna be popular on YouTube, or I'm gonna do this because I'm gonna, all my friends are gonna see it and say, oh, I saw you on this. Like, we definitely broke in at a point where you had to put that work in from a grassroots level and get your message out there and get your product out there and get your work out there and, just have that independent hustle and muscle. Where nowadays, especially like the youngsters, we're not seeing that, where to them it's all about, okay, well, if I go to this person, that's going to get me that, or that's going to get me this. And everybody's looking for short-term spotlight. They're looking for short-term notoriety, short-term adulation, short-term validation, all of that. And these are the things that we're seeing. So, like you said, we've got these guys now in the media scene out here, and they're in this position, they're coming down into the neighborhoods. They're actually doing such a disservice to the community. They're not doing a service for the community. They're doing a disservice to the community because A, they will steer clear from guys like myself or anybody who's actually doing something on a meaningful level and who are all about empowerment. So they're going to gravitate towards guys who are putting out a disparaging message. They're going to gravitate towards guys who are demonizing the people and demonizing the community. At the end of the day, they don't have to live there.
Exactly.
They don't have to be around that, but they want to push this image and this agenda of, you know, this whole fake bad boy image. And then even though a lot of these kids that jump on this whole music scene nowadays, everybody's a tough guy, everybody's a bad boy, everybody's like...
And when things happen...
When things happen, they're all crying about it, but even still, like, they're not putting out an honest message. Like, even that track you just heard me play, listen to the conversation we had prior. Everything that we spoke about is going to be in that track. Now, this is the kind of craft that we're cut from. It's like, it reflects in my music. The things that I talk about, you hear that in my music. Like, these guys who are jumping on this whole music scene nowadays, and, you know, they're actually messing up hip-hop because they're not part of hip-hop. They're just rapping because they want to be cool or they want to be known, or they think, okay, well, I got to be a tough
Instagram
guy.
Followers.
Or, you know, and all these new jacks want to come in, oh, you know, I'm a tough guy, I'm such a hard-on, and I think a lot of them need to process what's really going on in their brains. It's a shame because a lot of them are functionally illiterate. A lot of them probably suffer with depression and stuff like that. They need to actually work upon themselves as beings and, you know, pick up a book, just develop their minds. And because once you develop to a position, people ain't, you're not going to fall for the okie dokie, you know what I mean? People ain't going to be able to just come and pull the wool over your eyes. But if you're in a position of such minuscule power and you got to stay there, you got to understand there's people out here who ain't going to do nothing to develop you. You know, one of the things that I often say to the kids that I work with is, you got to remember that your brain is your most powerful weapon out here. So you've got to know how to function it and use it, because if you don't, somebody else will, but they're going to use it for your benefit. They're going to use it for their own, you know what I mean? Which is like what we see out here now. I mean, I was doing some work in the school the other day. I seen a poster saying Black History Month. I don't subscribe to Black History Month, you know me. Yeah, I subscribe to Black History, period, you know what I mean? That's just life. But what we even see now, I was looking at the poster and much to my chagrin, you know, and not knocking any of their accomplishments or stuff that they've done throughout the world, but I'm seeing, you know, Gandhi on there. I'm seeing a lot of Asians and stuff on there. So I say, okay, well, us now, it's one thing them say, okay, well, you blacks can have a month. Let's have Black History Month. But now it ain't even just black no more. Like, black now consists of everything else, just non-white, you know what I mean? Even a lot of these monitoring forms and stuff that a lot of these high organizations and stuff put out under the confines of black, it's not just black as in Negroes, or, you know, if that's the politically correct term people want to use nowadays, but it's everything else, it's just non-white, you know what I mean? So what we saw is people come in and manipulate that, like a lot of these Asians, a lot of organizations down here, like you Punch Records and you the drum and places like that. The people who sit at the top in those positions are Asians and stuff, and, you know, but they know to tap into funding and stuff using the whole black thing. I remember I challenged the guy who was working for Punch Records before, because he set up, there was going for like some community radio station, and it was like, they was pushing all the promo like, Birmingham's newest black music station and this, that and the other. Now half of these other moolies out here, and I say moolies, like if white folk can say niggas, I'ma say moolies, you know what I mean? So half of these moolies out here were lapping it up, like, because they ain't got no power to do nothing themselves, and they ain't got the independence to do nothing themselves. So to them, anything somebody quote unquote creates for them, they're all on it. Like, oh yeah, great, let's be a part of it, you know what I mean? I don't fall for the okie doke. But anyway, I challenged this guy. I said, what do you mean black music station? I said, okay, let's look at a few things. If you're talking about black music, what are you talking about? Are we talking about the creation of music? Are we talking about, you know, rock and roll music, which you could say was created by Chuck Berry? Are we talking about blues? Are we talking about jazz? Are we talking about so many different forms of music that, you know, if you trace it back, were created by black people, you know what I mean? Exactly. Or are we talking about what we've got packaged in the UK now, what they've repackaged everything as urban music? So I said, all right then, the reason why you're labeling it black music, because I'm not going to turn on there and hear no rock and roll, or just music period. Like, why is it just got to be a black music station? So you're trying to gauge an audience. The audience you're trying to get is a black audience by saying black, so blacks feel, oh, this is something for us, so we're gonna be a part of it. So I'm saying, okay, you guys putting this together, who's gonna be, what's the parameters of what music's going to be played on it? Like, are you going to say you're going to play this grime artist who's going to come on here and talk about blah, 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 blah. Are you going to play like these dopey, dunt sounding UK rappers whose intellect level sounds so low it's unbelievable that are gonna come on the track and talk about, oh, I lived a hard life, blah 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 blah. Or you're gonna play something that's gonna impart some real street reality and education and not, you know. So okay, you ain't playing none of that. So you're gonna talk about black music to grip black listeners to feed them BS, and then not only that, you want to play this black card when it suits. Like people talk about the race card, I'll say, oh, they're playing the race card. These guys are playing the race card.
Exactly.
They're playing the race card in a pseudo fashion, because at the end of the day, okay, you can play that race card when you want to put on a show for entertainment and so on. But to digress to my point earlier, where were you when I'm out here with the real revolutionaries at these marches for, you know, black people that have been killed in police custody, or, you know, when I'm out in the community just really building with the young generation who are in the struggle, knowing how hard it is for them and trying to get them to elevate and step up. Where are these so-called people then who care so much about black this and that? Oh, you just care about the industry and the entertainment from it. It's like going back to minstrel shows and all that again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's all about you being a performer. Even though I'm in this business, even from when I was young, I remember we used to have like parties and that with kids, and my mom would say like, you know, dance or something like that, bossa move and that. And I'd always be like, nah, if I feel like it, I'll do it, because I do what's from my heart and my soul. I always say, I'm not no performance seal. Like, I don't perform for anybody else's benefit, but anybody who see me performing, who's had the privilege to see about that live, they know what it's like. You know, we turn up, we get rowdy, we get a buck, all of that, you know what I mean? And it's real. People say, you know what, you guys are real. And even that scares a lot of these organizations out here, because they won't put me on shows, because they're not going to put me on a show and then put one of these perpetrators on after me to come on and start talking. You know, it's like oil and water. It's not going to mix. So we got to look at what these guys' agendas and stuff are. And